of. Sorry, let me say that again. Welcome back to Electric Bastionland, the new playtest edition of Into the Odd by Chris McDowall. And tonight we will be playing a little adventure called Wreck of the Void Hatred, which is from the Gauntlet Codex issue, the latest issue, which March 2018, which is Codex Cold, called Wreck of the Void Hatred. And this will take us beyond the city of Bastion into the frozen north, which is appropriate for the weather many of us are experiencing on the East Coast and in the Midwest this lovely March season. I'm going to ask the players to introduce themselves in just a moment. We're using the X card tonight so that as our safety tool and using the Gauntlet's inclusivity policy. But tonight I'm going to start by asking the players to introduce themselves, and I'll have some questions for them, and then we will go straight into the adventure. So let's start with the longest standing member of the prison, the Pigeon Street Shucklers, Yarnarla Cavendish. Jen, why don't you introduce and tell us a little about Yarnarla?
So, Yarnarla's been working really, really hard to get the Pigeon Street Shucklers to go legit. She has, she's got her the thaumaturge on retainer.
I think we have a name for him, and I will introduce him in just a moment.
Yeah, and yeah, she's been working hard, and going to all the parties, and just killing anyone who causes her even the littlest amount of drama. This is the type of person she is. She just does not like drama, and she will not stand for it. And you will die. So yeah, but she's mostly just been going legit and creating pathways to getting more money, so that she's found this knack and she's sticking to it. So.
Nice. Thank you, Yarnarla. And then I'm going to come over to another repeat member of the Pigeon Street Shucklers, Jonita Blast, played by Beth. Beth, why don't you introduce us to Blast?
Yeah, she's a qualified deconstructor who used to demolish buildings for a living until she took down the wrong building, and now she's deep in debt, so she's joined this treasure hunters. She's a big woman with bright red hair. She's always kind of dusty from her profession, and she's a little deaf, so she tends to yell a lot.
All right. Thank you, Blast. And Sim Rollins is the newest person to join us. Sim, tell us a little about yourself.
He's a neophyte to the treasure hunters of the Pigeon Street Shucklers. He is a street judge who did not understand what bribery was, thought this was a tip for services rendered in his adjudication of cases on the streets of Bastion. And that has gotten him in the bad graces of certain people whose graces you would rather not be in either way. He is a wiry, tough fellow, kind of like he's carved out of wood. Always sort of looks like he's just come in out of a storm, has a magnificent plume of hair, and is much more interested in the philosophy of the law than its practical applications.
Nice. All right.
Oh, and he has a prosthetic leg. I forgot I rolled that up.
Nice. Okay. All right.
And I forgot to describe Yarnarla. Yarnarla is like a tall, dark-skinned woman with long black hair, and she's super fucking dapper. She wears like the most like extravagant, colorful like suits and with ties, and she just looks great.
Great. All right, I have a few questions for each of you. I'm going to take some notes, and then we are going to kind of push you forward. But before I start the questions, I want to introduce somebody we've talked about before, but never really given a name to, is the thaumaturge that Yonarla hired some time ago to do some work for the Pigeon Street Shucklers. His name is Anton Cummins. He is a thaumaturge alchemist, a researcher, left the university because his research was possibly more adventurous than what they were really looking for, possibly less precise. He is going on this trip with you today, though whether or not he'll survive is anyone's guess. But he has brought along his grandmother's musket, but he's not fired it. I don't think he's fired it well yet. He's not had a well-placed shot. But Anton Commons is coming to join you this day, and I want to introduce you to who your rival is this time. Instead of a real rival, this is not a treasure hunter, not someone who's really necessarily been into the treasure hunting world, but someone who is in the debt collection world. Her name is Carina Bat. And she is a professional debt collector. She's one of the most successful debt collectors in the Pigeon Street vicinity. And she's generally accompanied by her secretary, little Johnny Croghan, who is anything but little, as you might have guessed from the nickname. Carina is someone who has convinced many a treasure hunter to take their treasure hunting out of town. So she has started traveling, but it's possible that those of you still in debt, who've acquired debts, may be looking for ways to stay clear of Carina Bat. And I'll have some questions about her in a moment. But I want to start with some questions for Blast. Blast, I'm sure you made a lot of money on Storm Seal Island, which is an island that no longer exists in the harbor of the river harbor of Bastion.
Not my fault.
Yeah, totally not your fault. Definitely not your fault. In fact, I really don't think it's any of your faults. It's
not just.
You were just beaten to it by less professional treasure hunters than you guys, who managed to eradicate the entire island. Since you made so much money, did you stick with treasure hunting, or did you pay off your debts and return to deconstruction life?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I paid off my debts, or enough to get I thought I got the debt collectors off my back.
Right.
That may turn out to not be true. And yeah, I went back to my job, and then, money never lasts as long as you think it will.
Right. And
yeah, I started to hear rumors of people looking for me, and oh, well, fine. I'll go try to make some more money the fast way.
Nice. Okay. And Yonarla, what has since you last checked in, what's the news from Pigeon Street? What's the big word on the street? What's about you or about other treasure hunters, or just happenings around town?
Well, that's a good question. I guess, so, what's been happening around town, or what has the gang been up to? What's the
Either one, whichever
one.
occurs to you first.
Okay. Well, I think like I feel like recently we pulled off a pulled off is a word for it. We were able to pull off a museum heist and sell the paintings back to the museum in question. But the person in charge of handling the money wound up getting robbed, and he's dead now. So it was successful in that it worked. It was unsuccessful in who I hired to carry out an important part of the job.
So some time ago, you hired Anton Commons to serve as your sort of, gang's alchemist, thaumaturge, magical consultant, occultic consultant, general know-it-all. Anton, though, at heart is a researcher. For you guys, what's been his most expensive, as yet unsuccessful project?
Well, and this is a project that I'm very invested in, and it has been expensive, and it's been annoying how unsuccessful it has been, which is replicating those telescopes into smaller spyglasses, like using the technology of those teleporting telescopes to make smaller ones that we can actually carry around with. Has been unsuccessful, and it is driving me insane.
So those are the telescopes that, as you look through them, you're able to also step through them and get from any two places you can see in a straight line that you can see clearly in the telescope in a straight line. And they're rather large. They're not easy to transport. And you certainly don't want to leave the other half behind, the other end of it behind, when you step through. So those have been difficult too, and expensive to research, but very exciting. Anton is constantly telling you how exciting the research is,
and I'm sure it is exciting. It is not nearly as exciting as waiting.
So, a once young Sim Rollins took up the profession of street judge. When Sim took up the profession of street judge, what was he hoping for? What was he really looking forward to?
I think every book of laws in Bastion is by necessary incomplete. There are blank pages to indicate that the law is not all-knowing and cannot adjudicate all situations, and he wanted to fill up the book that he had. Mm-hmm. So he carries a book of laws with him. It is still incomplete, but not for lack of trying. There is all sorts of incredibly minute case law now. It's established law because he's ruled on it, scrawled in the margins of other pages, like taped in fish rag newspaper type stuff with cut and paste different outcomes and things, and he is trying to compile an omnibus of justice, or he was at one point. I don't know that continued when the mushroom binges started. That made things a little unclear as to what was happening. That's actually why he doesn't practice anymore, despite what he might tell people.
Wow. Okay.
I forgot that my 1 penny also meant I have a bag of psychedelic mushrooms.
Oh, okay. So the psychedelic mushrooms may have something to do with why Sim has gotten into so much debt.
Yeah,
everyone in Bastion is heavily in debt. No one has the same reason, but everybody's in debt. Is that the reason, or is there something more to it?
I was originally thinking about the fact that he had taken all these bribes and not done the things that he was bribed to do. So he needs to repay those either with coin or kneecap, whatever currency he has available. Both are limited now. He only has one coin. He does have 2 kneecaps, though. Hopefully, the Void Hatred will provide more of one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Not particularly discerning which of the 2 it is. But I would imagine that having a mushroom habit made it hard to recoup those coins. I think that's probably where they went. Yeah.
So I want to ask you some questions about your rivals. And I'm gonna kind of start in reverse. You did street justice in the neighborhood of Pigeon Street, Sim. And it was Judge Rollins. What was the scariest completely legal thing you ever saw Carina Bat do to collect a debt?
She cut someone's thumbs off right there on the street, and was justified in doing so because he could not pay his debt. She didn't seem to take any joy in it particularly, very matter of fact, and that made it even a little harder to understand.
Wow. And highlight that. Last, you have seen her secretary, little Johnny Croghan, around the neighborhood for years. What is the unexpectedly kind thing you saw Johnny do one day, and what did Carina do to sort of undermine it?
That's a good question. Yeah, so there was this beggar, and I'm sure he owed money, as everyone does. But Johnny seemed to know him. I wasn't close enough to hear much of this conversation, but he was pretty clearly warning the guy to like hide. And unfortunately the beggar didn't trust him because, Johnny's not a terribly trustworthy guy, and he's a little slimy. So, he thought that Johnny was leading him into a trap, but really Johnny was trying to hide him from Carina.
Gotcha. So Carina caught the beggar.
Yeah.
Sad.
I didn't see what happened next. Maybe he's the one who lost his thumbs. I'm not sure.
All right. Yonarla. Lots of people still stories about what a badass debt collector Carina Bat is. What story do they tell about her on the streets that you suspect is probably apocryphal?
Yeah. There's a story that Corinne Batts is her name, right?
Yeah, Carina.
That
I'm sure that when you call her Corinne, that might drive her crazy.
Oh well, you know me. From there is a story that she actually owns the debt of a very prestigious geological society, and so she's able to get certain stones, objects, geological objects, to her liking, but I don't buy it. I feel like an institution like that wouldn't be into her debt, but wouldn't be in her debt. But I could be wrong. Yeah.
All right. So the three of you and Anton have been on the road for a little over a week. Heading north at first by boat for about 3 days, north of Bastion, to Port Tamaz, and then out by sledge for 3 or 4 days. After that, the sledge trains that you've been on are owned by the large penguin-like people known as the Pygo, and they are not talkative with strangers. They're famed for their beautiful scrimshaw work, living in the far north, and for their preference for isolation. But they've been willing to take you between trading runs in different cities on the north. And about half a day ago in the morning, they dropped you off on the gigantic face, on the upward northern face of Mount Kaz, the face that never quite perfectly sees the sun, so that you could climb up or hike up to the place where the Void Hatred was supposedly wrecked less than a month ago. The news of the wreck of the Void Hatred has not been completely widely known, but Anton has sources. And besides just the general treasures you would expect to find on an air pirate ship, a dirigible pirate ship, you would expect to be loaded down with valuables. Their captain, Asher Bale, was known to have two specific oddities on him of really high value. One is a gun that was made back in the days of exquisite gun craftsmanship in an old empire, an old empire of legend. It was rumored to have once been used by old Queen Jedra back in the days when being from the country meant something. And the other oddity that supposedly Asher Bale had was a mechanical alchemical heart that was given to him by an alchemist thaumaturge named Lursus. Now, since the ship wrecked way out here in the middle of nowhere, under mysterious circumstances, you have expected that the people who would be stalking your heels to get at any treasure that you would normally get a lead on have either not heard of it or not been able to fund expeditions towards it yet. And you've certainly put this expedition together as inexpensively as you possibly could. I'd like each of you to name one thing that you have missed on this expedition that you would normally have brought. You're assumed to have light, you're assumed to have rope, you're assumed to have rations. But what's something you would normally have tried to acquire before an expedition such as this that you have left behind? Sim.
A map of the area that we're heading towards.
Nice. It's a good thing that when dirigibles crash, they tend to have large balloons kind of hovering over the crash site. So who needs a map?
We'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, I mean, you hire guides for that kind of thing. Yonarla. These guys constantly want into the treasury of the Pigeon Street Shucklers, and they're just constantly asking you for cash. What did you not spring for this time that you might normally have sprung for?
I feel like, so it's in the cold north.
It is spring in the cold north, so it's not as bad as it was a few months ago.
Right. Which is probably why I didn't invest in like a bottled fire elemental. Like, I thought about it, but they're hard to get. They're expensive, and yeah, it's spring. How bad can it be?
Right. I'm sure it's going to go brilliantly well. And as you decided not to get one, Anton made a point of telling you that Asher Bale was famous for his covenants with fire elementals, and clearly that did not help him navigate the frozen north last month. So why do you need one? Jonita, Blast. In an effort to get out of town quickly and save some cash, what did you leave behind, or what did you not get before this expedition?
If I'd had unlimited time and money, I really would have wanted one of those newfangled parachute things, because we're going to be on the side of a mountain on, this flying thing. But I had to settle for just some rope.
All right. A parachute certainly would have been nice. That you're not really sure what's at the base of Mount Kaz on this side, but it'd be easier to find that out if you had a parachute, rather than just 50 feet of rope. So you guys had to hike for several hours after traveling for several days. The Pygo told you that another sledge team heading back towards Port Temaz was going to be by in about a day from the time they left you off, and then it would be 3 days after that. So you guys definitely want to be back to the rendezvous site, back to that sledge trail by tomorrow morning. Luckily, ships aren't very big. Even a nice big dirigible like the Void Hatred is got a limited size. It definitely makes your apartments, you can see from the outside as you see it sort of poking over the edge of a cliff. The aft of it sort of resting over the edge of a cliff. You're thinking, they look sort of big and scary in the sky, but now that you're just a few hundred feet away from them, it's making your quarters in the crowded city of Bastion look livable and comfortable. As you look up at the ship, as you get a little closer, you see that it definitely landed sort of against the wall of a cliff. And I wish I had a great illustration of this, so I'm going to do my best with my limited descriptive skills to sort of paint the picture for you. It landed against the wall of a cliff, sort of forward first. So the port side of the ship is sort of rammed up against the edge of a cliff wall. And it seems like part of that cliff wall is, the ice and snow portion of that cliff wall has kind of collapsed onto the parts of the quarterdeck, the top deck of the ship. Though you can see the cabin and other parts of the quarterdeck still sort of like whole and not broken, as you might expect from that avalanche of snow and ice that fell onto it. So you'd expect that you can get onto the quarterdeck once you're inside, get up to it, and still do some poking around. It's sort of tilted in that direction just slightly. A few hundred feet away, you can see that there are 3 areas that you would call below deck. The lowest one that's kind of in reach of you and has a giant rent along the side of it that you could probably climb into is the hold, where you suspect a good bit, possibly not all, or probably not the most valuable treasures, but a good bit of Asher Bale's treasures are kept. Above that, you're guessing by the size of the windows is what would have been the gun deck, where the cannons would have been set up. You're guessing that would have been the gun deck by the size of the windows that are sort of there. Above that, you're guessing is the main deck. You're pretty much seeing small windows of kind of the porthole size along that. It would be hard to you could probably crawl up to the gun deck or climb up to the gun deck and go in via the gun deck windows. It would be hard to get onto the main deck through those windows. Those are porthole size. It would not be impossible to get onto the quarter deck, the very top of the ship from the outside, but it would be tricky, both because of the bottom of the ship sort of flares out and it's sort of tilted over. And it's also sort of partially covered by snow and ice. And it would be a good bit of climbing up along the cliff face to get parallel to it. The ship is almost halfway hanging off the edge of a cliff, and the vast bronze and brass compartment on the back of the ship near the hold is, you're guessing, the engines. Certainly the smoke coming out of what looks like a small hole at the back of what you're guessing is the engines would suggest those are the engines, and that whatever was boiling in the engines is still boiling. But the wind is blowing the smoke away from you and not towards you. So, thank goodness there's wind. And the dirigible balloons are still sort of, they were not free of the quarter deck, but they are snagged on sort of the aft of the ship and still sort of flapping there in the breeze. Do you have any questions about what you're seeing from the outside of the ship?
The hold is where they hold things.
The hold is where they go. Yeah. I mean, you're guessing that super valuables may not be in the hold, because then the average sailor could just steal things from the captain. But you are guessing that anything that Asher Bale thought worth taking on board that was not food is probably expensive. He had a reputation for violence and stealing things that would get him a lot of money.
Well, we've only got a day, so let's be moving.
Sounds good. You want to go through the portholes on the gun deck? It seems like the easiest route.
There is a rent in the hold. Sort of like there's
even better.
Yeah, it looks like it was hit. It took a cannon blast or something. something of the sort. So there is a big rent in the hold, kind of leading into darkness. That is the smallest compartment of the ship, but you can, with some ease, climb up to the gun deck if that's what you prefer to do. But as Sim pointed out, the hold is where you hold things. That is possibly a legal decision that was just rendered.
It's right there in the name is all.
Yeah. If that's easier to get to, and we're clearly
the easiest thing to get to.
Yes. Let's do this. I mean, is my dog going to be able to get up there pretty easy?
Your dog, yeah, I think actually you can just kind of lift the dog in.
Okay, cool.
How big is your dog?
It's a pit bull.
Okay, yeah, I think it's small enough that if you hit any ladders or anything, that would be, you expect that a hold is probably got a ladder coming in and out of it, maybe a step ladder, but a pit bull is not so big that you can't help haul him up a ladder.
Cool. Perfect.
Who are you sending in first, and who's going to hold your light source?
Definitely looking at Yonarla to lead the way as the most experienced treasure hunter. Sort of like
you do have a lackey, Yonarla, with you, in addition to an adorable pit bull.
Yeah, the pit bull's going first. The lackey is less a lackey and more of a liability. But I'm vaguely annoyed that he decided to come.
Field research, very important.
So, but the dog's going up first.
The dog is going in, kind of go up and over that little kind of wooden spot where it's kind of broken away and into the hold first.
Yeah.
All right. So you lift the dog in, and you hear some snuffling around, but you don't really hear any barking or any sounds of surprise or anything like that. Yeah, so the dog is in, and then you hear a slight whimper, and the dog sort of comes back to the hole in the side of the ship and sort of like puts his paws up on it and sort of looks at you pretty meaningfully.
What does that mean?
What? I don't speak dog. That's dumb. Let's just get up there. I'm gonna follow.
All right.
Get up there.
As you could have climbed in, the dog is sort of like, licking your hand as soon as you kind of stand up, Narlin. And what are you doing for a light source here? Or have you brought one out yet? You can certainly see from the little bit of light that is coming in from outdoors. The sky is lit, but there's no direct light on the north side of the mountain.
Yeah, I'll get out my lantern or whatever I have. I don't know if it's torches or lanterns or whatever. And yeah, I'll strike up a light.
And then you see that pretty much there's several boxes that have sort of tumbled over each other. Clearly, when the ship crashed, it crashed pretty violently. And there are lots of broken plates or lots of broken crates kind of spilled around. And there's lots of beautiful shiny things. And there are lots of bits of food. There's the distinct smell of rum and really, really rich spices down here. There's definitely a little bit of what looks like lantern oil and alcohol spilled on the floor. And you see sort of a bronze, like sealed porthole, kind of what those big wheels that sort of turn in place and seal it, back towards where the engines are, kind of in a slanted part of the wall, towards the aft of the ship. And as you're looking around, Yonarla, there's a cask of rum. You can guess it's rum by just the way it's sort of labeled with a triple X, and it's the size of a good alcohol cask, and everything else has had that sort of molassesy smell that rum has, and has that dark color. Comes flying at you out of nowhere. It kind of clips you on the shoulder, though, as you sort of are able to get out of the way, and it comes spilling out the hole in the side of the ship and just sort of crashes into the snow without breaking.
Come from?
There's no one who threw
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah. I don't. Do I see anything where did it come from?
It was just sitting in a like a, it's sitting in a crate of sort of cask of rum. It looked like, big jugs of rum. And it was just sitting there. Several other jugs are broken. And that one was whole and still is whole. And
it just flew at me.
Flying at you. Yeah, it just came flying at you. Sim, Blast, it came just kind of flying straight by you guys as you were right in the hole, and just sort of landed in the snow.
Yeah. I stick my head in and yell, "Hey, Yonarla, go easier. You're just going to break everything."
What the hell are you doing?
That was not me, guys. Hey, hey, Smarty Pants down there. Can you tell me what the hell is? Can you get up here and? I think there is. Hey, are there ghosts in this mountain?
It was a shipwreck, and he looks over to where the jug of rum is sort of laying in the snow, and it's right next to sort of a frozen hand that's kind of been buried by fresh snowfall. And I'm guessing many people died, perhaps.
Yeah, people die all the time. It happens.
There's a 65% probability that if you die in a shipwreck, you might continue haunting the wreck.
Oh, okay. So the percentages. Good. 65. Well, shit. Okay, thank you for that. Well,
I mean, that's just a softball estimate. I mean, it might be higher or lower depending on the circumstances of the wreck.
I mean, someone take a look at that hand that's sticking out of the snow and see if you can massage it so its ghost will go away. I don't know what ghosts like.
Well, rum, perhaps.
Yeah, that's
all right.
Knock the cask a little closer to the ghostly possible corpse. Is this what you want?
It's somebody who just looks like they fell off the ship. You might guess that many people in a wreck might just fall off a ship. Some of them may not have been so lucky as to land on the cliff with the ship. But in a big open quarter deck, if you were at battle stations or you were near those big gunning windows, you might not be on the ship anymore.
Well,
so
if this was your rum before you died, you should know that by dying, you forfeited all rights to it. But as this ship is crashed, it's legitimate salvage if it weren't yours before. I'll crack it open and pour it on the corpse.
Nice. All right. I had a Sim. I mean, yeah. You pour it open, and as you're sort of standing in there, you feel sort of a shudder, kind of from the aft of the ship, but nothing really happens. And you're not really sure you felt it, or maybe it's just the engines that are still burning, or what's going on. But the aft is also just sort of stuck out over open air.
Mm-hmm.
The aft is the back or the front?
Right. The aft is the back. The fore is the front.
Folks, let's get moving. I think we should try shutting off this engine before we explore any further. It's probably dangerous. So after you're done pouring alcohol on dead bodies, it would be great if you were to get up here and help me with this door.
Yeah, I'll do that.
The rod as well.
Yeah, there are. You can see there's the kind of the rear port that you expect leads directly into the engines, and there's the ladder sort of going up, you'd guess, to the gun deck, or something else that's with the gun deck. It's kind of a step ladder. It's not just a drop. But so you do you want to take a look at that door to the engines, or that?
Yeah, I want to take a look at that. And just curious, from the look of the ship, from below, does it look like if we got it off the cliff, it could fly again, or is it completely dead?
You would have to know a little bit more about how the engines work. You would have to maybe attach a new dirigible to it, that looked a little more solid and stable than the one that's sort of flapping off the edge right now.
Okay, that's good to know.
So it would need a new balloon, and you would need to understand how the engines work. There are definitely chimneys kind of coming out of the engines at an angle. So you're guessing the engines, part of what they did was power the balloon?
Yeah, no, cool. But yeah, I want to look at the door.
All right. You get fairly close to it, and the heat radiating off of it is super intense. Like you're a little worried about burning yourself when you're just about a foot away from the door.
I might have something that can help with this. Yes, I'll go. Well, actually, I might have two things that can help with this. I have a sledgehammer, and I have a pyrophone.
I completely forgot about the pyrophone.
Yeah, I've never had a chance to use it. So yeah, I'm gonna try to. Well, not necessarily want to like beat the door open with a sledgehammer, because then we won't be able to close it, and I feel like we might want to close it if this goes badly.
I apologize for the sirens in the background. I'm gonna let them pass for a second. Sorry about it. So as you start looking at the sledgehammer and look at the door, Anton says something that might be surprisingly helpful, Yonarla. And he points at the engine. It's just like, isn't that just, well, I think it's run by salamanders.
Oh. What? How expensive are they?
And you ask how expensive they were, and you're standing nearby, and you feel kind of a shudder come coming from, kind of originating from the engine. It's almost like trying to fire off. And it just sort of shakes and then holds still.
Yeah, maybe that's not the greatest thing to talk about.
And I mean, that could just be a pure coincidence. As a porcelain statue sort of flies up out of a crate and breaks against a wall, and you get kind of scratched by the shrapnel from it blast, just for 1 point of damage. Is it just sort of like kind of lands right near your face, and a little bit of the shrapnel sort of scratches you on the forehead.
Okay.
You say just for 1, but in this game, that might be massive.
Right, 1 out of 3.
It was 33% of blast hit.
You still have to go through your entire strength score.
Oh,
that's
really?
True. My strength score's high. So, cool. I'm gonna go like the way it came from and see if I can spot anything back there, because it could be a ghost, but it doesn't seem, like it could be anything.
The rum ghost made sense. I don't know about this vase.
Right. Yeah,
There's no corpse near where the vase landed, right?
Not near where the vase landed. The stack of sort of like crates it came from are pretty overturned. There might be something over there, but as you look over there, there's definitely a crate full of small porcelain idols, mostly of old backcountry or old deep country gods. And
I don't like this
all of them have like animal faces. You see a couple of them blast that are still sort of featured in like children's picture books.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 of them don't appear to be damaged.
Okay.
6 of them look like they're in pretty good shape. They and they're nice. They're sort of inlaid with they've got sort of like gold filigree on them and sort of brushed with silver. They're really well done.
Well, I'm gonna pick one up and see what happens.
Clearly very fragile. Yeah.
Like your spirit.
What's happening there, Blast, is you pick it up and you were impressed at how finely detailed the workmanship.
It doesn't explode. Nothing flies at me.
It's not exploded. Nothing flies at you.
Well, I'll just grab them all.
Do you want to just set the box outside?
That seems like a good plan.
So yeah, you can set the box outside. You see a bunch of other, you smell much of what Yonarla smelled when she first in. There's clearly a lot of rum that's been overturned. There's other things that look like rum. You also see something that is kind of odd, but possibly quite valuable. You see a lot of like really fine decorative woods, the kind of thing you would use like in expensive furniture, and they're just sort of bundled together like firewood and just sort of laying in a corner. And there's just a cord of it, a really big cord of it. But otherwise, you see a lot of things you'd expect to see in the hold of a ship carrying a lot of, with a lot of valuables. There's lots of there's big crates that are marked pepper, cinnamon, cloves, saffron. There's some crates that have not broken open yet. And there's definitely a kind of a crate that's kind of spilling out scrimshaw weapons.
Well, we might have use of these, huh?
Okay. Yeah, I'll grab one of those weapons.
There's some knives. There's some sort of like throwing axes, and then there's some spear tips kind of attached to kind of short javelin-sized spears. They're all very primitive.
You think they're valuable or just useful?
Judge, you would, this would probably not be the something of like, great value. You probably could not sell it to a prestigious museum, but value is in the eye of the person who buys it. And these are finely carved, and there's probably an audience for them in Bastion. You've got about 3 knives, kind of a short spear, and a couple of hand axes.
I think mainly I'm interested in augmenting my weapon as stuff has started to get weird already.
Okay.
And I have a gavel.
Right.
Yeah.
So that spear sounds pretty good.
But you also have that piercing glare, the one that cut
that judgmental.
Yeah.
I mean, it stopped one ghost, perhaps. I don't
know. So you were grabbing what there, Sim?
I think the spear.
The spear? Okay. Yeah, that it does a nice D6 of damage if you throw it at somebody or stab them with it. Anything else anybody else is grabbing or trying to set aside?
I'm going to grab one of those throwing axes.
Okay. You've also got a dog.
Yeah.
Anything anything you want to do with anything you're finding down here?
I don't know. I'm curious about these salamanders. Like, so the engine room is open?
No, it's not. It's sealed. It's got one of those kind of big wheels that kind of seal the door in place.
Right.
I'm sure they have a name, and I am blanking out on it.
Yeah. And this ghost has been throwing shit at me, and I'm not happy about that. So I'm gonna turn to Collins. Is that the guy's name?
Anton.
Gonna turn to Anton. I'm gonna be like, hey, do you know how to talk to ghosts? Because I guess there's a ghost here.
Don't you just talk to them the way you talk to normal people? Once
I don't know the rules. Gosh. Hey, ghost.
I think if they're throwing things at you, they may not want you around.
Well, I'm here. Can't they respect that I'm here? It's... Ghost, why don't you respect that I'm here? It's me. It's okay. You don't have to hurt me.
The ship shudders again, but you don't really feel anything. The shuddering seems to come from the engine itself.
All right, guys, let's open this door and turn off this engine.
I look over at Blast to see what she thinks of that.
You're going to let the salamanders out?
Yeah, that's the way we turn off the engine. We let the salamanders go. And
they eat the ship?
I'm not too keen on any of that.
Yeah.
Is that what they're going to do, Anton? They're going to eat the ship?
Are they?
Or
they're
us?
Probably very hungry. They've been here for a month.
We've got that pile of wood.
You give them things to eat and they calm down.
Got some broken crates.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea, Blast. I appreciate your thinking. You're getting on the brain trust for sure.
But we don't want them on this ship, so we gotta give them a way out that isn't this door.
Yeah, they can. We'll give them the food, and then we'll say we'll let them go when we're done.
Well,
we'll negotiate with them.
Yeah, I'm concerned though that if we just stack these crates like right here and then open the door, they've got no reason to just stop with the crates. We gotta like lead them outside somehow and give them the crates out there, so like they're away from the ship a little.
Wait, they're just loose in that room?
I mean, I don't know, but that door is awfully hot. Like, there's a salamander right on the other side.
Well, let's go up.
Up is a good direction.
Yeah.
Away from the fire beasts. I agree.
I mean, I do have this thing that repels fire. I'm not sure it repels salamanders. I was just told it repels fire. It'd be worth a shot, but maybe more's the last resort kind of thing.
Yeah. Good thinking. Let's keep moving.
So who's going up the ladder first? Who's got the dog and who's got the lantern?
Well, if Yonarla's carrying the pup, then probably someone else needs to carry the lantern, I would imagine.
I'll take the lantern. I can go up first and, like, she can hand the dog up to me.
Right. I'll guard the rear.
What about Anton? Is he coming with us?
I'm sorry? Anton will come up with you, yeah. He will go wherever you tell him to go. He's a very valuable lackey, but he's still a lackey. So he's pretty responsive. And you have a 19 charisma, Yonarla.
Yeah.
So who's going up first?
I'll go up first with the lantern.
All right, Blast. So you go up first. I think there's room for two of you on the ladder at a time. So as Blast sort of gets through the hatch up to the gun deck, who's on the ladder behind her, and then behind the person behind her? Who are the next two people?
I think that would be Yonarla with dog and Anton.
Yeah,
right?
I think I'm waiting for last for everyone to clear out, making sure that nothing sneaks up behind us.
All right.
I feel like there's like a couple lanterns between us as well. So.
Right. So Blast, you get the you pop that hatch. It's pretty easy. There's nothing really blocking it. There's a slight tilt toward the cliff wall in the floor. You're noticing a little more up here because there's less, clutter to get in the way. And you're pulling yourself and the lantern onto that floor and getting a look around when all of a sudden the ship shudders again. And a tendril of smoke sort of comes out of the engine towards you. Sim, and the two of you on the ladder, and I'll check for Anton, are sort of shaken as all of a sudden the ship sort of tilts just slightly backwards. Just slightly, not violently. Yonarla, go ahead and check your strength, and I'm going to check for Anton as he sort of falls off the ladder right behind you and kind of lands in a slight pile near Sim's feet, crying out, ow.
What did you say about the engine room?
I did not succeed.
You did not, yeah. So you also, Are you going to drop and let the dog land on you, or are you going to let the dog land on top of Anton? I mean, the dog's going to be fine either way.
Yeah, I feel like it's more funny that the dog lands on me.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to... I think you land on top of Anton. The dog lands on top of you. And you're going to take 3 damage. Anton, however, is toughening up after this indignity. He went exactly to 3. He went exactly to 0, which always means your maximum increases. A fun little part of this game. And the shaking stops. The rumbling stops. Up where you are, Blast, you see against the port side. You guys kind of came in via a crack in the starboard side. Against the port side, that the part that sort of slammed in to the cliff side, what looks like way more cannonry than any one ship should have on it. It's just sort of jumbled together. And there are several bodies that are kind of face down on the ground. Most of them look like, they've been knocked over or knocked out by the cannonry. Kind of flying free. You see several broken chains, and you'd guess that several pieces of cannon sort of broke out of the parts that were placed where they were chained up. And then pinned against the wall is the body of a woman who is her hair is sort of pulled back in a very businesslike sense. And it looks like she sort of died with her arms sort of outstretched to like she was giving a command. And she's just sort of pinned against the wall by one of the free floating cannons, or one of the flying cannons that kind of pinned her back there. And she's dressed in like good leathers and a nice kind of puffy shirt. Like she is an officer on this ship. Just as you sort of take a look around and see that, make a dexterity saving throw, Blast. Try to roll under your dexterity. Equal to or under.
Equal to or under.
Yeah, so 10 or
my
less.
Dexterity is 10. Okay.
Yeah.
There's reroll. There we go. 14. No, that's
All
about
right. You take 3 more damage, Blast.
That brings me to -1.
So just take it to 0, and you're going to take 1 point of damage to strength. But you're going to roll a d6 and add that to your maximum hit points.
Okay.
As a big ball with weird signs on it, weird emblems on it, made of bronze, sort of flies towards you, and sort of kind of knocks you sort of right in the stomach, knocking the wind out of you. Not with a lot of force. And as soon as it hits you, it releases a good bit of like static energy. So you're kind of shaken by this kind of flying ball. What are those of you down there still in the hold? Are you climbing? Are you going to finish climbing up now that everything is still?
Did you say something about the engine room door before?
Yeah, it just some smoke escaped from it, and it kind of tendrils of it just sort of started wafting towards you.
Yes, definitely climbing up,
dissipating up. Yeah, they're definitely dissipating out the rent in the hold, but they're almost but the way they're moving is almost like they're feeling their way around. Like they're not dispersing the way you'd expect smoke to disperse. They're just sort of kind of wafting around, and like they're almost like thinking about it before they sort of drift off out the rent in the hole, the rent in the side that where you guys came in.
Anton, mate, are you seeing that too?
Anton looks back at you and nods.
Let's go up the ladder then.
What about you, Yanarla? And Pop?
I am seriously beginning to doubt the Anton, how much do we stand to gain if we loot this?
There's like, well, an alchemical heart would potentially bring... It's really hard to calculate once you get over 10,000 pounds.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Yep. Let's get up that ladder.
Like, I'm really not sure how to put that in monetary terms.
Yeah. No, I thank you.
I mean, Lursus was the single most distinguished alchemist of 3 generations ago, and he lived for over 300 years.
And he built this heart.
Built, grew, crafted. I've not looked at it. I can't quite tell you.
All right. Yeah, let's
Is 10,000
let's go up those
a
ladders.
gilder? How many pounds do we need to get a gilder?
10,000 pounds, I believe. Is that 100? Is that 100 pounds as a gilder? We looked this up.
Oh, I'm just... Sim would have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Watch out, guys. The ghost. Oh, God. The ghost is up here, too. Or another ghost. I think it's this officer here. Maybe she's the ghost.
Is there any rum we can give her?
If you want to bring some up, that might be a good idea. Watch out, she throws
pour
cannonballs.
more liquor on the corpses, of course.
It's been the only thing that's worked so far.
Yes, it worked.
I'll bring more rum up.
Yeah, like I said, there's 3 bodies that are sort of like, you know, kind of sprawled on the ground face down. I think 2 men and a woman, and then there's the woman who's sort of pinned against the wall who looks like an officer. And then there's a ladder. There's all these brass shot canisters lying around, or these bronze shot canisters lying around that have weird things scrawled on them. And then there's a ladder up to the main deck.
Upward ho!
Yeah, let's sprinkle some rum on these corpses first, though. Just it's
Okay.
You know, it can't hurt,
All right.
right?
Yeah, okay. It can't hurt, but like, can it help?
Let's find out.
Maybe.
So who's sprinkling the rum?
I'm definitely sprinkling rum.
All right. Why don't you make a charisma check there, Sim?
Where is the link for the
roll for your party.
our actual chat here just makes the screen bigger and smaller. Okay.
There we go.
Where did you?
I just put it in the Hangout chat or the group chat for the room.
For some reason, I am unable to open that.
All right. Let me put it into Hangouts chat real quick.
Okay.
I probably should get in the habit of just attaching a link to the spreadsheet. It is Widely Cuddly Dingo.
Wow, there's a lot of dice in here. All right, so to check charisma, you said, right?
Yeah, you're going to roll a d20 and try to get equal to or under your charisma.
Okay, I'm not the least charismatic thing in the world, so let's see.
You are
no, I didn't manage to do that.
The ship shudders, doesn't really tilt at all. But 4 creatures sort of come out of the darkness as you've sprinkled the rum. Yonarla, were you already headed up to the upper deck above, or were you waiting for this rum sprinkling to occur?
Rum sprinkling?
I think I was impatiently waiting for my crew to stop being superstitious.
The crew. They may have had reason to be superstitious because out of the shadows of the gun deck step 4. They don't really step. They just sort of manifest. Shades. Shadows sort of moving along the walls that are not your shadows. And they are the ship is shuttered. It didn't tilt at all. But Yonarla, one of them is moving towards each of you. What are you up to? What are you doing?
Okay. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out one of my flashbangs, and I'm going to say, hey, y'all, made out of shadow, huh? Well, I have a feeling this might not be good for ya. So why don't you back the fuck up and tell me what's going on? Because I cannot deal with this right now. I'm here to make some money. And that's all. And then I'll go. I'll leave you and your bodies in peace. Whatever.
Make a charisma check.
Right. I have a 5% chance of failure. 7.
You are magnificently charismatic, and all the moving shadows just sort of freeze. And from nowhere, all 4 of you hear a voice that just says, "So hungry. So hungry."
Okay. That's a good starting place. Where's your mouth?
One of them moves like it's going to touch you, Yonarla. And it's like blood.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I'm
blood.
deaf.
Blood.
Oh, you want blood? Gosh. Mine's busy keeping me alive.
Oh, blood. Just small amount.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's plenty of junkies on the street who say the same thing, and by golly, if it just doesn't work that way.
They're moving towards each of the 4 of you. Anton looks like he's about to pass out.
I'm throwing the flashbang grenade.
All right. Is there a set damage for that flashbang?
No, it just it's a flashbang. It blinds your opponents, but it creates a bright flash of light, which I'm just being like, oh, while you're made out of shadow, a flashbang dispel shadow. I don't know.
All 4 of them just sort of vaporize. I'd like each of you to make a dexterity check.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Anton made it.
Yeah, Jennifer made it too.
Yonarla, what about you guys, Sim and Blast.
I got a 4.
Sorry, I had to get it to actually roll 5.
5. Awesome. Yeah, you guys are all able to cover your eyes. You sort of see what Yonarla's doing. And when you kind of come back, you don't see any shades moving at all. And nothing's really happening.
Well, that might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Or not.
Let's go upstairs.
Yeah. Sounds
Unless
like
that rum is blood, it's not going to help us.
So again,
I drink some of it anyway. It might help this way. Hold on.
I don't know whether Sim is a fan of rich, dark, spicy rums, but this is a beautiful example of the rich, dark, spicy rum. Something you would expect that pirates, not necessarily connoisseurs of fine rum, but this is definitely a big jug of fine rum.
All right then.
You might have suspected it just from the nose, but going down into super smooth. It may also be good for creating cleaning wounds or whatever else you might use rum for on a pirate ship. But it is definitely a rich, dark rum, and very, very smooth. There, Sim. Sim, are you damaged at all?
Not yet.
Okay.
Am I now?
I will remind you guys that all you have to do is rest for about a minute or two to regain your hit points.
Did not know that.
Now that might result in rolling a different random encounter.
Right.
Again, but I on a mechanical point. But remember, all you have to do is sort of take a breather to get your hit points back, because hit points are not really, or hit protection is not really the core of what's happening. You're really trying to protect the strength score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good for a minute, but if y'all need to take a rest, I can understand.
I would definitely benefit from a rest. I have 0 out of 4 hit points.
Do you want to rest here though?
Let's get to the top deck.
Yeah, let's see if the top deck is any safer.
All right, so who's going up first?
Same way as before?
Yeah, I think so. I'll go first.
So Blast, you're heading up. You bring the lantern up, and man, you guys luck out all the time. Maybe it's just your feet on the ladder as you sort of shift your weight around and go through the hatch from the gun deck to the main deck. But the sorry, Blast, I kind of lost my place there. I'd like you to you kind of come up, you get the sense that you may be in a mess just from the number of overturned tables that are sort of spilled out, including right around the hatch. You sort of push one aside as you thrust the hatch open. And I'd like you to check dexterity real quick.
Is that for everybody or just?
No, just Blast.
Yep, that's good. 9.
9? Yeah. A knife kind of goes whizzing at you as you open, and you're able to close the hatch. You hear it thump on the other side, and reopen it, and there's not much happening now.
Yeah, I yelled on the ladder. Yeah, they're here too. They're throwing knives now instead of cannonballs.
You might guess that they're throwing whatever they can get their hands on.
Yeah.
None of the places have been incredibly pleasant. Everything's been a bit messy. This is the first compartment, Blast, and the rest of you coming up behind Blast in the same order as before. Yeah. you are clearly definitely in the sort of open kitchen / mess. This is the first deck you've been on that clearly had more compartments in it than it. The gunnery deck and the hold both were small, and pretty much there was just one compartment on the whole deck that kind of encompassed everything. This is the first compartment. This is the first compartment you've been in that have actual stairs up. There's a door toward the aft of the ship and a door towards the forward of the ship. The room you're in, like I said, open kitchen and mess. You clearly see the chimneys from the engine sort of coming up towards what would be the quarter deck, the top. And there's tables and chairs everywhere. There's someone who clearly fell headfirst into the stove. And then there is a young man about 18 whose body is just sort of impaled on a knife. You would guess there might be, if the ship had crashed when it was not at battle stations, there might have been more bodies here. But clearly the only people who were in the kitchen at the time were the people who were supposed to be there to work, which would be the cabin boy, and you're guessing maybe the body in the stove. It looks a little stouter and older is the cook. But like I said, there's a door to the aft and a door to the fore, and there's actually a rather nice set of stairs for you guys have mostly been coming in and out on step ladders. But there's actually a decent set of stairs going up through a half open hatch that looks like it's going straight up to the quarter deck. What are you planning to do here?
I'm thinking the stairs, but would the aft door take us above the engine?
The aft door would roughly be above the engine. That's towards the back of the ship. That's the one that's maybe going to fall off the cliff, at some point.
Right. Is it hot?
It's not particularly warm. It's not particularly warm or cold right now. You're not very close to the engine anymore.
Okay.
And the fire, whatever fire was in the stove, has gone out.
Okay.
Like I said, the ship wrecked. The ship crashed. You're guessing about a month ago.
Okay. I was just wondering if the heat from the engine had spread into that room.
I mean, it's so cold outside that
right.
you're not noticing it.
Okay.
Well, we're looking for that heart, right?
Yep.
That's the big score here.
Anton sort of rubs his, and the gun too.
Well, Asher Bale probably would have had that in his cabin then, right?
I would
if it's
think
all
so.
fired important.
Had it with him. Where would he be if the ship was struck down during a battle? That's the important question.
If he was on the deck, he might have been, thrown off the cliff.
So wait, Anton, this heart, is it something Asher Bale owned or something he used?
Well, it said he stole it.
But did he keep it in a wooden treasure chest or the chest with the rib cage?
It wouldn't do you much good in a wooden treasure chest. You really have to take your heart out and put that heart in.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's something that takes a certain degree of skill.
So we're looking for the captain's corpse, not necessarily the captain's cabin.
Well, that puts a different spin on things then.
Yeah. Maybe the stairs?
Yeah, still probably he's not in the mess during the fight, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I think probably on the deck, but it depends on what kind of captain we're talking about. But that seems like the first place to look, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, things seem a little quieter here, Blast, if you want to rest.
I mean, a knife did fly at me, but I haven't seen any more. So sure, yeah, that seems like a good plan.
One knife is relatively quiet,
right? And we can just like duck behind tables. It's fine. Yeah. Let's hang out here for a couple minutes.
Sure, and let's actually take a real life break. And I will see you guys. I think 9:50. Does that sound good?
Okay.
All right. See you guys back here at 9:50. 9:50 Eastern. Hello, everyone. And we are back. Jen, are you there? Give Jennifer a second to get back.
It's hard to tell when she gets back.
Jen, chime in when you're back. All right. Keith, is that a real Coke? Is that a real Coca-Cola?
It is not even a Coke that is fake. It is a beer.
Oh, okay. I saw red and was just like so kind of overcome with envy for actually drinking a real Coca-Cola.
What do you consider real Coca-Cola?
I mean, real Coca-Cola is like kind of the Mexican sugar Coca-Cola, but
Okay.
I've been on like, you know, Coke Zero for so long that I've even forgotten what actual Coca-Cola tastes like.
The Mexican Coke is very good.
Yeah. That is what our local game. Yeah, that's what our local game store sells. Right.
We had.
Jen. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We went to Mexico on vacation and had a Coca-Cola there. And was like, oh my goodness, it must be because it's so cold when it's so hot. And then I was like, oh, actually, it's just better.
It's just sugar. It's just real, honest to goodness sugar.
Yeah.
I went forever in life not realizing that I'd heard all the rumors and as a kid, not realizing the original recipe of Coca-Cola was essentially cocaine and red wine. Over ice.
Never been improved upon.
Yeah. I mean, the real original recipe.
Cocaine and red wine. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's just mulled red wine with coca leaves. You know, how could it, I don't know why that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, if they kept making that would replace cheer wine as like the favorite drink here.
Okay, just give Jennifer one more moment. Jennifer, you there? Please come back to us. And apologies to all the viewers at home who have to hear the various emergency services pass by, which I swear never happens unless I'm actually talking to people on the phone or on a video conference of some sort. So, right. Just checking in. My aim is to finish around 11, which would put us right at 3 hours. I think we initially said 3.5 to 4, but I think this adventure usually runs right around 3, and then do kind of a debrief / Roses and Thorns. Then is that still good for everybody time wise?
That works fine for me.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. That'll probably be about when I start the pumpkin. So.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, it's so feel free to fall asleep in the middle of the debrief. All right. We ping Jen on Hangouts. doesn't work up here on Slack too. So one thing I always feel bad about for anybody who wants to sit down and watch a game that we run on the Gauntlet is that we also record, because this is the only way it works, we also record our entire break time, which has to be the most boring part of what, unless you just really love watching people take a break from a table.
What doesn't work if it's not?
There's no pause. The very first time I tried it, I thought stop broadcast would allow you to restart, and it does not. Once you stop the broadcast, it is stopped forever.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. For all the things to do right, there's a lot of head scratchers from Google software.
Yeah.
Especially Hangouts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they implement and eliminate functionality seemingly on a whim.
Right when you're getting used to it, they change it.
Just as you get used to it, yeah.
I thought I knew what I was doing, but not anymore. I was looking at some of the real fancy kind of Twitch streams and stuff like that and how to do those. And there's a lot that goes into that, so I can understand people being reticent. I mean, it's beautiful, but
yeah, the best Twitch streams are beautiful, but I just cannot imagine having that equipment on hand. But of course, I have no background with video or media, so
I mean, the basics of it, from what I understand, it's like there's one program that syncs everything,
right?
And
yeah,
you
OBS,
input,
I think.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And then you input everything into that, and it's kind of like you move around in that you get to say, like, I want this part of the screen here to show Rich's face. And then down here is going to show Beth's face. But then this is going to be the logo. And then the map is over here.
It's all layers.
Jen, you're there.
Yes.
All right, I think we're ready then. Welcome back, everybody. And we are ready to get back to the ship. So you guys have taken a little bit of a rest. All your hit points have recovered, but none of your, if you've taken stat damage, none of your stat damage has recovered. So it's going to recover up to your max. But none of your stat damage will come back. That takes some time in an actual medical facility, or strange, weird oddities, occult oddities interfering in your cosmic well-being for that to come back. But you know, hey, you took a breather, and there's a little shuddering. Sim, why don't you make a dexterity check?
Oh. Oh no.
Oh yeah. Well, luckily it's not very bad. Yeah, you get scraped by another thrown knife as you guys are kind of like regrouping. And again, or not actually not a thrown knife. I think the oven door that's been hanging by a hinge just sort of comes off and comes flying towards you. You take 2 points of damage, so not too bad. You're able to mostly just get out of the way and sort of knock it aside, and then it just drops, and the ship stops shaking. No tilting of the floor, no nothing that you weren't expecting. No explosions. It stops shaking again, and there's just the stairs and the doors to the door to the aft and the door to the front of the ship.
Ah. Well, now I'm bleeding. Does that count as blood?
Actually, I don't
Smeared on
think it's
something.
bleeding. It's just a small ding.
Okay.
With only 2 points of damage out of your hit points, you know, that's mainly just sort of like your ability to roll with it. Um,
So up then?
Yeah.
so we're still doing the thing where, and as you go up, you're getting back into the little bit of daylight. So you may not need the lantern unless you need to look at something closely. And I'm going to say these stairs are wide enough that if you're willing to crowd in a little bit, you can go 2 by 2. And you certainly don't need to carry the dog.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
How are you going up? What's the plan? Who's front? Who's back? Who's in the middle?
Well, we can send the dog first if we
Yeah.
want to do that again.
Dog goes first. I'll go ahead of the dog. Anton behind me.
Okay. You mean right after the dog there, Yanarlo?
Yeah.
Okay. And then who's in the rear?
I'll be in the rear this time.
Okay.
All right.
And I think Anton has like the lantern at this point. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
sounds
like,
good.
yeah.
So the dog sort of clears the hatch onto the deck, and you're able to sort of like tilt it back. Yanarla kind of right after him. But just as you do, the dog starts barking like crazy. And as you come up, you see what looks like a woman's body, except it is moving. Also dressed as an officer, really nice coat, hair pulled back, really, nice trim pants, eye patch over one eye, sort of her hair pulled up into a bandana. And holding a cutlass, pull herself over the side of the ship just as you're sort of clearing the hatch. And the dog is barking like crazy at her. And you'd swear this is not a living body, just looking at it. It is sort of pale. The hair is sort of frazzled, dead, and dark. The eyes are black. And she looks at you and says, "Where is the captain?" Pointing her cutlass right at you, Yarnarla. Are the rest of you coming up sort of behind Yarnarla at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead, I would presume, but thanks for talking to me. I just got here. What do you want from the captain?
It's not what I want. It's what hell wants.
Oh, are you an ambassador from hell?
Who's asking?
Hello, me.
Who are you?
Do you really need to know? I asked the question first. Gosh, this is annoying. Just answer me. And like I point my machine gun at the body.
I think I'm going to have you make a dexterity check, Yanarla, to see which side goes first here.
All right, I failed that one, so.
Yeah, you are pulling the machine, the gun up, and she lunges towards you.
Mm-hmm.
You take 5 damage. And I'd like you to make a strength save. A strength saving throw there, Yonarla.
Well, I made that one.
Yeah, you feel something on that blade, deep, cold, like colder than the outside world around it. As the blade goes for Anton, sort of knocking him to the ground, he kind of rolls away from it. He's not cut, but he's sort of knocked down. And then he breathes in. And he's sort of on the ground in a weird position, breathing very quickly like he's panicking, and he's not moving at all other than the panicked, quick breathing. What are the rest of you doing?
As I come up through the hatch, I already have the throwing axe in my hand, and as soon as I get a clear view, or even like enough room to swing my arm, I'll throw the axe at the zombie hell minion, whatever.
Oh yeah, roll a d8.
Sure. Do I have an 8? Yes, I do. 5.
All right. It just sort of sticks into her shoulder as she turns to look at you, Blast. Yonarla and Sim, what about you guys?
Is she the only threat that we are seeing right now?
She's the only thing the dog is barking at. You don't see much, even in the pale lantern light, the sun coming over the mountain. You're sort of in a space where outside the main cabin, and there's stairs going up about 7 or 8 feet to what you guess would be the official bridge where the wheel would be. You can see where this is essentially where the dirigible balloon would have been fixed at one point before the mooring, the ropes just broke and it sort of like flew off, badly damaged and snagged on the back of the ship. So you don't see anyone else besides her.
Well, let's give this a shot. I hold up my hands placatingly and say, "We too seek your captain."
Make a charisma check there.
I was afraid you were going to say that, but none of my stats are so good that I shouldn't be afraid of any of the checks. There we go. Hey, natural 1.
Nice. Do you? And she pulls the throwing axe in her shoulder sort of out, sort of bloodlessly, and flips it around in her hand and hands the handle. She hands it to you handle first. Blast.
I'll take it. Yeah. Thanks. No hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
She looks at you, Sim, and she's like, "What do you want him for?"
We have heard tale that the famed pirate hunter, Jiminy Cricket, is seeking him out, and we want to give him this intelligence.
I've never heard of this pirate hunter. What does he want with the captain?
To jail him for his many incredible crimes.
Well, he's in good luck because the captain is not dead yet, but he's in bad luck because my mission is to ensure that he dies.
You wish to kill your own captain?
Well, I'm in hell now. I've got a new captain. Really total new outlook on life, you might say.
He said life in quotes then. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me.
So when you
I've been sent to bring back his heart.
but his heart, you say?
His heart. Yonarla, you hear all this.
So while this is happening, I'm getting my bone magnet out, and I'm going to turn it on and try and push this woman off the ship with it. Use it to, like, repel the woman off the ship.
I think that's a pretty clever idea. I'm going to have her make a saving throw. And then normally I have the PCs make a saving throw, but the fear of the bone magnet kind of puts the onus on her. She falls backwards, grabbing onto the side of the railing, and kind of gripping onto it like treachery. What are you doing there, Yonarla? And the rest of you too. Yonarla, I've already asked you. You've got the bone magnet out.
Kick her off the ship.
The dog is still barking. Sim and Blast, what about you guys? There's some unseen force. It seems to be emanating from something in Yonarla's hand that is pushing this woman off the ship.
I mean, I'm not going to interfere with that, but so she says the captain is not dead. If he's on this ship, then maybe his cabin would be the place to look. So, yeah, no, I'll wait and help throw this woman off the ship. Yeah, I have the sledgehammer. I haven't had a chance to use it, so like I will making sure that the railing is between me and the cliff. Kind of go along the railing, and
this is the railing that's kind of facing out over the chasm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She clearly climbed up the chasm based on the wear and tear on her fingers.
Right. Yeah. So throwing her off the ship isn't going to do a ton of good, right?
Well, the chasm is a long way down.
Yeah, it'll take a while.
I'll slow her down. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, what you're looking at is you look over the edge of the ship where she's come up and where she's about to fall back off. Is that's several hundred feet of climbing. And remember, the ship dropped a month ago.
Oh yeah. So this will slow her down. Right. So I'm just like, if she grabs hold of the railing, I'm just gonna like whack her hands with the sledgehammer.
Nice. Go ahead and roll your damage. With the sledgehammer there.
3.
All right. She sort of takes it, but is continuing to hold on to the railing and is trying to free her second cutlass that she sort of has at her side. Her other cutlass sort of fell to the deck. Sim, what about you?
So this dog is barking at something else?
No, it's barking at her.
Okay. And she is hanging off the edge of the ship.
Yep.
And flew across the deck for a reason that would not be obvious.
Well, you saw something, clearly Yonarla has something in her hands that is pushing. that is done something to this woman that made her fly across the deck. What does the bone magnet look like, Yonarla, when it's in your hands? I mean, it's something you turn on and off.
Yeah. I think it's like it kind of just looks like it kind of looks like, I don't know, it looks kind of like a roundish, kind of a tube sort of thing, and it's got like little feet, like it looks like it's like a pill shape, but like a hand, like in the size of a hand. It has little feet, and then it has a switch on the top that has like it has like a middle point which is off, and then it has like one side that says attract and one side that says repel, and there might be like a bone sort of emblem on it of some sort.
And Yonarla, does it make a sound when it's on?
Yeah, I feel like a minor like hum, but yeah.
So Yonarla has this device in her hands that's making a hum that just started as soon as this woman flew off towards the edge, and she's caught herself in the railing. She just took a big hit from blast. And what are you doing there, Sim?
Well, I was working on trying to get her to help us find the captain when she was flung across the deck. So I don't think I have a move lined up for that.
Okay.
If y'all want to bash her to bits, you can go ahead and do that.
I think we're probably past negotiating now.
She is still holding on, and she's starting to pull herself back onto the deck. What are you up to?
I'm gonna just like lay into her with a blast of my well, no, I can't use my machine.
I mean, if you can try to get it up close to her, the bone magnet up close to her.
I'm just gonna kind of go. I'm gonna just like walk toward her with the bone magnet, and and the closer I get, I'm just gonna like, if I get close enough that it's just like she's like kind of in midair, like whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
You walk towards her, and her hand lashes out, letting go of her cutlass, and tries to grab Blast, who's right next to her. Blast, why don't you make a dexterity save?
Six.
Nice. She's sort of hovering. She's sort of hovering over the railing, looking like she's pretty close to letting go. When the last thing you hear is, "If you take the captain's heart, I will come take it from you." And she just kind of disappears, free falling back to where she came from.
Cool. Yeah, see, she was going to cause drama if she found out that we wanted the heart and she wasn't going to get it, so I took care of it. That's all that happened, Sim. I know you wanted to develop a rapport, but it's easier this way. Trust me. I've been on a lot of things like this. Ooh. Just keep your nose sharp.
What about that whole having, an undead woman come after us if we take the heart? Kind of feeling like Howard Carter here. I guess if we take it, we got to sell it as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not going to keep it for ourselves. Do you want to have a mechanical heart?
What the hell would I do with it? But like Anton might.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anton's
hey, Anton, how are you
sort
doing?
of light up, but he's still sort of like trying to get to his feet and having a little bit of trouble walking. Sim, everyone, you've got the person who just fell overboard. There's stairs up to the bridge, and then there's what's clearly the captain's cabin. Who's going where?
If she hadn't said the captain was still alive, I would say the bridge was likely where he died. But if he is alive, he's probably in his cabin.
That's when Anton says, well, if the heart's in his chest, he couldn't possibly die. Not finally.
Yeah, his body might be completely broken, but the heart's still beating, sort of situation.
Right.
So he could be in either place, really.
Right.
I think I'm gonna turn to the pit bull and I'm gonna be like, "Hey,
there we go. Yeah.
Hey, why don't you find a beating heart? Can you find a beating heart for me, buddy? Yeah, can ya? I don't speak dog. Can you find one?"
The pit bull just sort of like looks around. He's like initially gets excited. Is he a guy or a female, or does it matter? Or
yeah, it's a he, I guess. Now.
Sort of runs around and then starts to like sniff around and then starts to whimper and comes back to you and just sort of crying.
What do you want?
Clearly quite upset or frightened by something, and he's looking between the bridge stairs and the cabin kind of frantically, like he expects something to sort of just jump out of there from them.
Useless.
Can dogs smell ghosts? Hey, Anton, do you know if dogs smell ghosts?
Do dogs have a good sense of smell normally?
Yeah, they have a great sense of smell, but I don't know. Do ghosts smell?
I never smelled a ghost before. I don't think I would, outside my sphere of influence, and I don't really know.
Some help you are.
Dogs might have a sense of the weird.
Well,
Clearly frightened of something.
Yeah, and
I mean, there could be wild animals that have taken residence in the ship.
I mean, I would think he would chase them. He hasn't, seemed terribly afraid of anything so far, and we've seen some,
He was he was kind of whimpering when you put him into the hold initially. That's when he was there by himself.
Doesn't like being alone. Can we see anything at all in that direction? Or anything out of the ordinary?
I mean, the hold, like everything on the bridge is kind of partially covered by rocks and snow. That's kind of come off the edge of the cliff, so that you see the part of the bridge that's closest to the cliff wall seems to be covered in snow. You can see it looks like from the top to be maybe kind of a shadow of the wheel towards the bridge, and then the captain's cabin looks dark inside. The door has not been opened. The door is fast shut. The windows are cracked but not broken.
Okay.
And you guys do not have to go in the same direction.
That is true. So I'm thinking if there's, I don't know where the captain is, but like his cabin's likely to have some valuables.
Mm-hmm.
If not the gun or the heart, at least something else useful. So I'm going to go to the cabin.
Nice. Okay. What about anybody else? Anybody else following Blast? Or is anybody going in a different direction, staying still? What's the plan?
Cabin sounds good.
All right. Blast and Sim are heading towards the cabin. Yonarla, Anton's looking to you for what your next move is.
Yeah, the cabin. I figure
right.
we'll stay together.
All right. And Brass, you were moving towards the cabin door. I'd like you to make a just a charisma saving throw.
Ooh, worst score. All right. 15. Nope.
In the darkness of the cabin, you feel something cold, like cold as the grave, sort of brush against you. You take just 1 point of damage. And then you feel something move away from you, as sort of like the light from the door kind of spills into the room. You see sort of what would be a very comfortable accommodation back in Bastion. There's sort of an iron 4-poster bed, a lot of big bookshelves that have all been overturned, a desk that clearly once had lots of papers on it that are now scattered across the floor. There's a chest that is spilled open, and there's lots of beautiful gold enameled coins kind of spilled kind of out from the chest. There's more of those weird idols. Several of them have broken, but you've definitely got like several that are not broken, sort of that are rolled into corners. The 4-poster bed has sort of flipped upside down and come back, and it clearly one of the posters landed on somebody who is dressed in robes, who is just sort of pinned to the floor here. Kind of a thin man, black robes, pinned in place by the bed. But you see kind of behind the bed in the shadows of the room that the sunlight has not gotten to yet. There looks like a figure moving that looks fairly familiar to you, Blast. It looks like the young man you saw kind of impaled on the knife down in the mess. And you get a sense that's the person who touched you in some way, like right on your left cheek, just as you entered.
Right. Yeah, the figure pinned by the bed. What's it look like?
Clearly in life had dark hair. Now that it's cold and the person's dead, The hair is frayed. It was kind of longish. He's got on sort of scholar's robes. And over the scholar's robes is kind of a long, what looks almost like a smoking jacket type.
Mm-hmm.
Now Sim and Yanarla, Anton can all see this as well. The dog is sort of right next to you, Yanarla, sort of almost like it's trying to hide by your heel. And then there's also like on top of the bed and scattered around the room, there's what looks like the backsides of tapestries. Clearly there were tapestries up on the wall. They've fallen off. And the young man is sort of like staring across the room at you. He looks a little ethereal.
I am not good at talking to people, let alone ghosts. So I think I'm going to defer to Yanarla on this one.
Yep. Ghostly presence, hear me now. If you go away for like 3 hours and let us do our thing, and then we'll leave, and you can come back and you can haunt this boat, this ship, this airship for as long as you want. Just let us do our thing for just a little bit.
You know, Larry, I'm gonna have you go ahead and roll that d20 and just tell me if you hit a 20 or a 1, either way.
I got a 6.
Are you wounded at all, Yanarla?
No, not as such. No, I'm down 5 hit points, but I haven't calculated it, put it in.
You are completely back up to your maximum. The ghost sort of disappears and then reappears right next to you, kissing your cheek. Like you're not sure exactly what happens, but Blast and Sim see this happen, and then trying to duck away, like away from you, and it's a very warm feeling, Yanarla. It's kind of like tingled down to your fingers, kind of sense of warmth just sort of spreading out, and you feel really good, like you were healed. Are
you seeing anyone, Ghost?
And he just kind of backs away with his hand over his mouth towards the corner of the cabin again.
I'm gonna follow him.
You kind of approach, and he sort of like vanishes.
Well, if you're ever in Bastion, you should come look me up.
Sim,
have a fun time.
And Glass, what are you guys doing as that thing sort of disappears?
Well, I was a little bit horrified when I saw that, like, the ghost kissed Yanarla, but his reaction, I'm like, oh, wait, actually, that's a really great idea, because like he's a ghost, he can't kill him, right? But yeah, I'm gonna look around the cabin for anything valuable.
What about you there, Sim?
Anything that I can pocket and get out of here, trying to pay off the debt.
Pocketing is a rough concept. But there's certainly several things that could be valuable. There's some some blocks of incense. There's a couple of small chests with coins in them. Sim, you specifically see something that looks like a key, but it has prongs on both sides of the central rod, and the prongs are inscribed with glyphs. It's made entirely of silver. The inscription is exquisitely done. Blast, you find a sword.
Cool.
That's sort of inlaid with kind of got the silver plating on it. That is sort of just sort of like was hanging above something on the wall at one point, because it's still kind of partially in a frame, or a frame is sort of broken underneath it. And it's there. Like I said, there's all those kind of coins.
Yeah.
That have enameling on them. The enameling, it's a gold coin, but it's enameled with a white bat. And there's books that, you know, look fairly valuable spread out. What are you going for?
I mean, I'm going to grab the sword and kind of point out the books to Anton and be like, you know, I don't know a valuable book from a pulp novel, so knock yourself out.
Anton is still sort of limping from his encounter with the woman outside, but he's sort of like grabbing a couple of them. He's trying to hold 3 of them, but he's not. They're big.
Right.
So he's kind of stretching to hold 3 of them. He's having to put his gun away and his powder horn away. Yonarla, what about you? The ghost has disappeared. They're all sort of scrambling for stuff in the cabin. What are you looking for? And what are you grabbing when you look for it? Jen, you may be muted.
Yeah, I went to unmute myself and I accidentally got out of the window, so it took me a minute to get back. I'm seeing if the body of the captain is somewhere around here. I'm looking for, but I'm also just looking around in general.
You see the robed body that's face down. You're guessing that's not the body of the captain. It does not look like a pirate captain. Certainly does not look like the description of Asher Bale as the strapping, older, mighty sailor, man of the air that has been described to you. Anything you're grabbing before you get out of here?
I mean, there was the sword that Blast got, and then some coinage, and then what else?
There was coin just spilled around. There was something small that Sim picked up, and then Anton is trying to fill his arms with books, somewhat impractically. The dog is traumatized and is sort of hanging out at the door, refusing to come in. You can, of course, just turn around and go back to the bridge, or go explore the main deck more, whichever you think is appropriate.
Yeah, I think I might just grab a handful of coins and stuff them in my pocket, and then, head up toward the bridge to see if maybe the body is up there.
So, yeah, you've got about 12 of the coins in your hand. Just kind of stuff it into whatever pockets you've got. You're jingling a little bit when you move now, but they look valuable. And lost my window there. 1 second. And you're heading back out to the bridge, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What about the rest of you?
I'm gonna grab some coins too, and then we have an easy way to carry stuff because I would like Anton to be able to maybe kind of defend himself and hold a weapon.
You can certainly set things down to grab later.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to convince Anton to do that.
Anton sets the 3 books on that he's been trying to hold on to onto the deck in size and reaches for his gun again.
Yeah, they won't do you much good if you're dead. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe these ghosts read, but I don't think it'd be much fun.
Sim, what about you?
If there's nothing easily pocketable, yeah, leave the cabin.
There's more of those coins. There's certainly a lot of those coins.
All right, some coins.
You've got about 16 of the coins, and then Blast, you got 14. All of you are jingling a little bit. Everything else looks fairly large. If you had like a, you could certainly start Anton into the business of pulling things out of the cabin, but everything else is pretty large. I mean, not gigantic, but not something you would hold on to while hunting around the rest of the ship. And you guys were headed up to the bridge, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You were first. Who's right behind you, Narla?
I think generally we've had Anton there.
All right. Who's behind Anton?
I'll go behind it.
Okay. And what about, so Sim, you're kind of at the back.
Yep.
Yanarla, you get up to the bridge, and you can't tell by what or how this happened, but still holding on to the wheel of the ship is the unmoving body of a very large man. And when I say the unmoving body, I only mean the top half. It's hard to see what happened to the bottom half, but it is gone.
Mm-hmm.
But his body is his arm is still holding on tightly to the top half, while his hand lays on a very decorated pistol, long pistol, antique, much nicer than the one Anton carries. That has sort of a bayonet tip at the end of it. And this looks to you like descriptions you've heard of Asher Bale. And he's just sort of slumped, not moving, eyes closed, one hand on the wheel, the rest of his body, the lower half of his body gone. When you hear a loud crack, and the ship suddenly like tilts slightly, not much, towards the chasm below it. And then like everybody make a dexterity save.
Yes.
2.
Blast, I heard a no. Is that are you okay? Blast?
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't get it to unmute.
Okay.
Or roll. 2.
2. Good. And Sim, you're able to sort of catch yourself on the railing. Yonarla, what's going on with you?
I got a 2 as well.
Nice. Anton did not do well, and he goes sprawling and sort of lands back at the base of the stairs.
I'm right behind him. Can I catch him?
The wind sort of knocked out of him. It's not a very long staircase. And Yonarla, as you catch yourself, Asher Bale's eyes open. Doesn't move. Nothing else happens. You're just staring into the black eyes of Asher Bale. You guys can get to the top of the staircase pretty easily. And you see what I described to Yarnarla, except Asher Bale's eyes are open.
And in his other hand is this gun.
In his other hand is the gun. And that's what all of you see, except for Sim. I mean, Sim sees that. Sim also sees, standing at the far end of the bridge, right where the tip of the forward part of the ship smashed into the ice wall and broke some, and then pulled snow and ice down on top of it. Sort of standing on top of a block or a chunk of ice is Asher Bale, looking straight at you.
Just to check that I'm not missing something, that's also who you were describing as...
Yes, as okay. Dead on the deck.
Is this one obviously different, besides not being torn in half? Obviously,
it does seem somewhat ethereal.
I'm gonna wait to see what people do first.
Anton starts to pull himself back onto the deck behind you. And you hear him whisper, the books are fine. They're okay. Thank you for asking. And then he sort of makes eye contact with the same thing that you're seeing there, Sim. And sort of you see him sort of pan between what you're looking at and the body on the deck.
So which one of those do we need to worry about then?
And you just hear Anton make a little whimpering sound and start fumbling with his gun.
One of them has a gun?
Or Asher?
Sorry?
Anton or Asher is fumbling with the gun?
Just Anton. Just Anton.
Oh, okay.
Asher has not moved, either in the body or the ghost standing at the very forward part of the ship.
So, Asher, hey, hi, my name's Yonarla. I'm a big fan, and I'm gonna cut your heart out. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. If you let me do it and leave you in peace, you'll go. And you won't, sit at the bottom of a chasm for eternity, being kind of half alive. Which, as fun as that sounds a lot less fun than me making a lot of money. So... those are the options. That's what we're looking at right here. And, I can also take your gun. And you know what? I will tell the story of how you valiantly fought this mountain. And, you did your best. I don't know how you got here. But if you would like for me to tell a particular version of the story, I could do that too. And as I sell your heart and gun.
Sim, you see the ghost moving very suddenly. I'd like you to make a dexterity saving throw. And this is going to serve as your group's initiative to see whether you can personally do something or say something to your group to get them to act first.
7. Yeah, I made it.
All right. Yeah, so you guys get to go first, starting with Sim. The ghost is moving towards you. You see the hand with the pistol in it. Yonarla, you see the hand with the pistol in it twitch. Sim, you see the ghost. You and Anton see the ghost move towards you. I'll start with Anton, who unloads his pistol or his gun, his musket into the oncoming ghost. The ghost doesn't slow down, though clearly the smoke from the pistol connects with something before sort of dissipating into the air behind him. Sim, what are you doing? And then I'm going to go to Yonarla and then Blast.
So he just shot the ghost.
He shot the ghost.
And something weird happened with the smoke.
Yeah, the smoke sort of like would suggest it connected with something, though the ghost is not slowing down.
And the body is also moving.
Right.
Well, I was going to say part of me, but all of me wants to do something other than just combat, but I feel like that is not what the group's going to do. And the last time I tried to do that, it just got pushed into combat. So I don't want to waste my effort if that's what's going to happen. And I can say I stab it.
Looks pretty hostile. I will tell you that.
Sure, I stab it.
All right. What are you going with?
My spear.
All right. Roll a d8 for that.
6.
6. And you were going at the ghost, right?
Yeah, that's what was nearby, right?
You feel that, were you throwing or were you sort of jumping in and thrusting as it tries to approach you?
If it was close enough, just thrusting.
Okay. Yeah, you feel it connect with something. And the ghost eyes sort of go wide and turn to look at you. Yonarla, you're sensing something going up there. You know you need to open Asher Bale's chest. His hand is moving towards his pistol. What are you going to try to do? You may be muted again.
Right, I was, but I was just making thinking noises.
Okay.
I think what I'm gonna do is, so how far off from me is the ghost yet?
The ghost is not nearby. The ghost is kind of encountering Sim, so you've got a good 7, 8, 9, 10 feet.
All right, I'm gonna kind of what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw a flashbang over there and then you know, like, kind of
Now, I will
grab
tell
the
you, this
gun.
is not the kind of shadowy ghost that you saw
Yeah.
in the stairs.
Maybe.
It may be a interesting idea or a good idea, but you can't tell.
Yeah.
And that would definitely, since this is, you know, there are other things that are going on, you would be risking blinding your companions and yourself.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to grab the gun before this slow moving half corpse does, and then yeah.
Make a dexterity save.
That's a 6. Yep. So
You've got the gun. Blast, what are you doing?
So I have no idea if silver works on ghosts, but I do have this fancy silver-plated sword I just stole, so I'm going to stab the ghost with it.
Awesome. Roll a d8. Add 1 to it.
Cool. That's an 8. Oops. 5.
5?
6.
And Anton's already shot his gun. Though he's fumbling for a knife at his belt now. After he's kind of dropped the gun, and he's fumbling for a knife in his belt, keeping his eye on that body with kind of a delighted glee. And the ghost reaches out for you to try to grab your hand there, Blast. So Blast, you're going to lose 4 strength.
Okay.
As he touches you. And then I'd like you to make a charisma saving throw.
Ooh. All right. Oh. 14. Nope.
Yeah, the ice. He makes a eye contact with you as his cold grass touches your skin, and you lose. I believe it was you added 1 hit point the last time you increased hit points.
Mm-hmm.
So you're losing that permanent hit point.
Okay.
You're back down to 3 permanent and current hit points. As he sort of like makes eye contact with you, making you sort of tremble. And Anton lunges for the body's torso that's holding onto the wheel with one hand. And you see his knife go in right where the heart should be. Sim, what are you doing?
I will stab it again.
All right. Roll a d8.
3.
Gunarli, you've got that pistol. And you may be muted again.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I have the pistol.
I'm not looking at the screen, so I apologize.
No, what do I know about this pistol?
Supposedly it's a powerful oddity that was given to or stolen. You know, stories differ whether it was given to Asher Bale at some point or was stolen by him from someone else. It supposedly goes back to an old empire from the deep country.
Right. But the stories don't say exactly what it does, just that it's a powerful gun.
No.
All right. Well, since Anton is cutting the heart out, which I wanted to do, I guess I'm just gonna I guess I'll shoot the ghost with the new gun.
One second. The ghost disappears. But Anton is tossed off the body, and his knife goes flying towards you guys. By the body's rocking, as he lets out a kind of a gasp. And I think we're coming back around to you, Sim.
Is there still a ghost?
There is not a ghost that you can see. There is a body that seemed to rock back and forth and toss Anton completely free after he made a dagger wound in its chest.
So where did he go flying?
He's not off the ship, but he's smacked hard against the railing. He's looking a little dazed. And he dropped the dagger, which is now sitting there on the deck.
I think I'm gonna help him get up and start what he was doing again, because he's the expert.
Kind of getting him back in touch with getting him up and getting the dagger back in his hand.
Yeah. I don't want any piece of whatever he's doing.
All right.
I'll help hold down the body.
Let make a strength save.
6.
Congratulations. Yeah, you Blast, what are you doing?
I mean, if we're gonna do this, I have this rope. We could just tie the body to the wheel.
You'll have to act fast. You do have the rope. So you're kind of pulling him up and tying him to the wheel, or at least kind of not necessarily finishing off the rope, but like at least binding him so that you've kind of got him in a grip.
Right. Yeah.
With the rope, and he's held up so that you might have a little more room to work, and his arms won't be. Yeah, I kind of like it. So you're kind of lassoing him, makeshift lasso, pulling the body up. Make a strength save with your current strength of 9.
Yeah. 9. What's a tie?
That's a tie. Is a success.
Okay. Cool.
I'm not going to make you. Yeah, I think with that, I'm not going to make you go through the entire process of the gruesome process of carving that heart out. It doesn't take much longer. But what comes out of Asher Bale's chest looks like leather inlaid with gold. And even as Anton holds it up, it continues to beat. And Asher Bale's body slumps to the deck. And the ship shudders one more time. And I need all of you to make dexterity saving throws.
Negative.
Nope.
I'm gonna. How did you do?
I rolled a 1.
So 1. A whimper comes from Anton as he sort of tumbles backwards onto the deck, kind of clutching the heart to his chest, and sort of knocks the wind out of him as he comes off the bridge. Blast, you hit the railing kind of with your knee, and you take 1 damage. And Sim, you have the less immediately painful but slightly embarrassing slide down the stairs to the deck on the rump as the ship tilts kind of aft and port, like it's about to tumble over the side of the cliff before it stops shaking again. You see shadows out of the corner of your eye start to form. How are the 4 of you getting off this ship with your dog?
Well,
Anton's trying to pull himself up and keep the heart sort of wrapped in his kind of coat.
Did I have time to take the rope back?
Yeah. I figured you were just sort of lassoing him.
Okay, yeah.
Once he slumps, you didn't really tie off the rope. You can.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we could just tie it to something and
rappel down.
Yeah.
Sim, how does that sound to you?
Sounds good.
All right. Anton is desperately throwing the books over the side, hoping they sort of stay together. And this is the side that sort of goes down to where you first kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
And to see how well this goes, I mean, all of you are going to get down. It's how much in one piece are you going to get down? I'd like to have each of you make a strength check.
Oh boy.
Natural 20.
Nine.
12.
How did that do? Yeah, that's over for you. That under for your Narla. I will check for Anton, though his strength is miserably. Yeah. Who went first? I think Blast.
Yeah, I think I probably did.
Yeah. Blast, you get most of the way down when the ship starts to sort of rock, and you're sort of tossed off the rope, and you sort of land on the back in the snow, taking 5 damage. So I think that's going to bring you to 0.
Yeah. And then
bring your strength
and then another
down
2 down. Yeah.
Yeah, then another 2 down to your strength.
Mm-hmm.
Sim, I'm just going to double that, and you're going to take 10 damage. You managed to hold on to the rope, but you see Anton with the heart in his hands go falling off the edge, coming past you and landing with a heavy thud at the base of the ship. As you all 3 get to the bottom, you hear another loud pop, and the ship just starts to slip away from the edge of the ice shelf, slowly down the edge of the cliff. And Anton has the heart in his pocket, and is not moving and does not seem to be breathing. What do you do?
Does anybody have anything to help with not moving and not breathing?
Anton does.
Yeah,
But
he's
is
got
it
all his potions and
worth
stuff.
it?
And he's also got the.
I'm gonna put one of those blue potions into one of those blue potions I got, and I'm gonna one of those mage potions, and I'm just gonna like make Anton drink it and see if that does anything.
Let's see. Roll the die of fate, Yonarla, and tell me what you get. Just any die. Tell me what the die was, and tell me what the.
Okay. I'm gonna go for a D12 because those are fun. And that was a 2.
Yeah, the blue sort of sapphire liquid, this kind of glistening liquid, is not going down his throat. Sim, roll the die of fate.
Same deal, whatever it is.
Yeah, just tell me what it.
4 on an 8.
4 on an 8. You begin to wonder if there might be something in the heart, but you would have to damage the heart to find out. And you might not have time to discuss this with anybody. What are you doing?
So the idea is I would have to peel apart this thing?
You might have to break it. You might have to like let him bite it.
Seems like a horrible idea.
Yeah, we can just buy another alchemist with the money from this heart.
He is the one who knew how to sell it, and also
Did you say and also something?
And also, I mean, like, you know, the you're going to need to react quickly, Sim. So
yeah, I'm just feeling like I don't want to open up whatever horrible ancient eldritch forces are in this thing.
Completely understandable.
My idea was also pour random potions down his throat, but that clearly did not work.
Janita, last, any last sort of efforts you want to make?
I don't know if any of us like has the ability to use the heart anyway. I mean, what the hell? It's magic. How is he holding the heart? Is it like
It's in his hand.
okay? Yeah, what the hell? If it's that magical, maybe this will work. I take the heart out of his hand, and I just like kind of, you know, push his robe aside and put it like on his chest, like on his bare skin, like right over where his actual heart is.
What?
See what happens.
What? No. We can buy a reanimator for him. Let's.
Blast, I will tell you, if it's going to do anything, it has to get into him in some way, and the only way you can think of getting it into him is down his throat. Without surgery.
Sure. Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to do surgery.
10,000 pounds we're talking about. Come on.
Who would we sell it to? He's the one who knows about it.
We can find someone.
Plus, we got the gun.
We got the gun. Yeah, we got the gun.
Plus, we got all this loot.
This guy, he has been helpful to
this guy will be in our debt forever.
If we save him.
Yeah, I'll just put it in his mouth.
As it meets his mouth, he sort of bites down on it, sort of ripping it. And you're able to pull it back. It looks like a heart, but it sort of acts like almost like clay when he bites down on it. You're able to pull it back, and it sort of like folds over where he bit down on it. But there's a significant portion of it that's gone. And then you see him convulse and cough. And you see a golden light in his eyes. As he starts to wake back up. When all of you hear a very warm, kindly sounding, familiar voice that just says, I do hope you found something useful in there. And sitting on the edge of a rock is Carina Bat. With her gun and her cricket bat at her side. And her assistant, the stony-faced and profoundly mean-looking Johnny Croghan, standing there, also with a gun sort of at his side, holding a crowbar. He sort of grunts in acknowledgement that she said something. I am so glad you saved Mr. Commons. He does owe my employer a significant amount of money.
Well, now he owes me a significant amount of life. And
well, that makes two of us who are very, very glad he's alive.
Well, I wouldn't say glad so much as miffed that he came along in the first place.
Yeah,
but
I am too. It's so much easier to find him in Bastion. What does everyone do? We are getting close to time, so I want to respect that.
Yeah, I am past coherence at this point.
I am sorry, Keith. So it will. She clearly wants to arrest Anton.
Mm-hmm.
What's your intention here?
How close is she to the edge of the crevasse?
You might be able to bull rush her before she could get a shot off, but you'd be putting yourself right in harm's way from the big guy, Croghan. Do you want to risk it?
Sure, why not?
Blast, make a dexterity save.
Eight.
Very good. You're going to take a full 6 damage, taking you down to 1 strength.
Okay. Okay.
As you push her off the edge of the crevasse, but you are barely hanging on to life yourself.
Yeah.
Sim, Yonarla, what would you like to do about that?
So
she just fell off?
She's gone.
Yeah.
And her secretary?
Is still there, just clobbered blast with a crowbar.
I want to shoot him with this new gun I got.
Nice. Roll a let's just go for kicks and grins, Yonarla. Let's have you roll a d12.
Boom, 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 boom. 5.
5. Roll a d3.
Okay. 3.
A 3.
3.
Whatever came out of your gun sounded like an explosion, but whatever sprayed across his chest did not leave an impression. But his eyes go wide and he falls face down. Well, not quite face down. His head sort of like leaning out to the side as he kind of half catches himself before collapsing. And his eyes are open and he's breathing. But otherwise is not moving at all. As he just kind of lays there breathing wide-eyed in the snow. Not moving. Sim, you seem to be the one with the conscious. Are you going to leave him here? Or are you just going to go back to the rendezvous point?
So he is not dead?
He is not dead. He's breathing. There didn't seem to be any damage to his chest.
But he's immobilized and isn't going to try to hit us with crowbars?
Yeah, the crowbar is kind of limply hanging in his grip. His gun has sort of just fallen to the ground. That was kind of resting against his thigh.
Yeah, I mean, if we can drag him back to the Penguin folks' sledge site, then maybe we have a debt collector's secretary in our debt. That
Nice.
doesn't seem bad.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
You guys have done amazingly well and surprised me with many of the decisions. And so I think we're gonna call it there. Right before we get to 3.5 hours. If you guys would like, I can do kind of roses and thorns, let you guys take a 5-minute sort of bio break and do roses and thorns after that. Keith, I know you are probably really tired, so I completely understand if you need to step out. But I would love to have as many of you stick around as can. And I will see you all in 5 minutes. Do people think they'll be able to stick around?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. And then I hope to see you guys in like it's as much as 5 minutes. Take extra time if you need it. But I'm gonna start the roses and thorns sort of walk through in a kind of right at 11:30 sharp.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna stop the broadcast.